Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 15th, 2025 Statewide 911 Advisory Board. We do have a quorum, so I'm going to go ahead and start with a roll call to begin. Michael Yoakley present. Senator Neil Anderson. Senator Bill Cunningham. Representative Mike Coffey. Representative Angie Guerrero Cuyar. Ralph Caldwell.
Present, Springfield.
Damon Dade.
Present, Urbana.
Laura Daly.
President Webex.
John Ferraro.
Present, Springfield.
Tim Hightower.
President Webex.
Phil McCarty.
President Springfield.
Sam McLaren.
Present, Springfield.
Randy Narrett.
Present, Springfield.
Lauren Neal. Dino Perdue. Deb Piscola.
Present via Webex.
Carla Red.
Present via Webex.
Chief Red, I think I see you on WebEx.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Volker
Present Springfield.
and Linda Zerwin.
Present your page, and you have no video.
No video.
And Mike, I am here, not in Urbana.
Thanks, Chief. I knew where you were. All right, let's see what we can do about video. Hold, please, 1 second. So, DuPage, I'm on separately on my laptop. The IEMA Springfield Breakout Room.
All we're showing is the Illinois State Police symbol.
Under my name, correct? But if you look at IEMA Springfield Breakout is where your video feed is.
Challenge. Stand by.
We see you on Webex from the breakout room.
Thanks, Laura.
Find comment for it. It's just
What, the other end's not seeing it?
If you click next to
She's
the
not
red
seeing it.
line, there's our.
So we don't see their video.
No, that is what it's not.
So, okay, nice try.
So we're not seeing the other.
Is there a button? Is it, do we scroll over one? No.
See, it should be this one. Carry on, we'll keep working on it, we can hear you.
You're muted.
Okay. Okay. First item on our agenda is our public hearing. Joint
Approval?
I'm-
Did you approve minutes?
Oh, I don't have minutes on.
Yes, you do.
Oh, I do. Sorry. Man. Thanks, Eddie. All right. First item is the approval of the July 14th, 2025 open meeting minutes. Were there any comments or edits to the minutes that were disseminated to the board? Hearing none, I'll take a motion for approval.
Motion, John Ferraro.
Thanks, John.
Second, Ralph Caldwell.
Thanks, Ralph. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Now we have the public hearing of the joint PTSB of Lake County Consolidation Plan. I'll start by allowing, I believe Mr. Kern is in DuPage, the opportunity for any comments with regard to the consolidation plan.
Good morning. Jason Kern, the 911 System Manager for the JETSB of Lake County. I'm also the Executive Director of LakeCom. And just to point out, our Chairman of the JETSB, Mr. Hunter, is sitting to my right, Attorney Joseph Miller to my left. And just very kind of brief and high-level overview of this process. For well over a decade, municipal and county leaders in Lake County have explored the opportunity to provide a very high level of service through an intergovernmental cooperative agency, which has become LakeCom and the JETSB of Lake County. With this process, we are combining 6 current ETSBs into one joint emergency telephone system. This new JETSB is going to support LakeCom and the Lake County Sheriff's Office dispatch with approximately 600,000 residents over approximately 1,000 square miles. LakeCom has 26 members. It's going to support on day 1 30 police and fire agencies. That is taking 6 primary PSAPs or ECCs and 1 secondary PSAP and ECC and combining them all into LakeCom. The County of Lake has secured funding for the regional operations and communications facility, which is where LakeCom will operate. That building had its opening at the end of June of this year. It's about 37,000 square feet purpose-built to house LakeCom and the Lake County Emergency Management Agency. So with that, I'll stop and see if you have any questions or how you'd like to proceed, sir.
Have we lost all audio?
No, we're fine with audio.
I heard them respond back.
No.
Mr. Chair?
You may not be far off.
DuPage, we can hear you, but we've lost audio at IEMA now.
Oh, sorry, that's because I was muted. Yeah, DuPage, we can hear you. Your video is now just the person, I think your IT guy. All we can see is him instead of the.
Pointing that way, so
That's a good,
flip the camera.
that's a good sign.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, Mr. Kern had turned the meeting, he finished his response and asked if there was any questions or turned it over to you.
Yeah, so I opened it up to the board to see if the board had any questions for Mr. Kern. I'm not seeing any comments here in Springfield. Any comments from you, Linda?
No, sir.
Okay. The next thing is I'll open it up for public comment with regard to the consolidation plan. And we can see your room again, DuPage, just FYI.
All right.
Hearing no public comment, I'll take a motion to approve the consolidation plan.
So moved, John Ferraro.
Thank you, John.
Second, Ralph Caldwell.
Thank you, Ralph. So Michael Yopley, yes. Ralph Caldwell.
Yes.
Simon Dade.
Yes.
John Ferraro,
Yes.
Bill
Yes.
McCarty,
Yes.
Sam McLaren,
Yes.
Carla Red,
Yes.
Melinda Wolker,
Yes.
and Linda Zerwin.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All right. I didn't have any specific pieces of legislation to put on here, but I figured with it being the time of year that it is, I should go ahead and still leave that as an item for the agenda, just in case anybody was aware of any legislation that we should be tracking at the moment, or if you've heard of any legislation that is on the horizon. I will make one comment just for the benefit of the board. One is obviously governmental affairs, who we deal with legislation a lot, are the same individuals that I work with in terms of filling board vacancies. I've been in regular contact with them with regard to our vacancies and how it is reached to the point where it can cause us an inability to conduct business, which is problematic. So, which I'm sure you guys are concerned. So I'm working with them. We're trying to apply as much pressure. I mean, as much pressure as can be applied to the governor's office when we're talking about that, but also attempting to get a change to our rules to allow WebEx participation to count for a quorum, because in that situation, I think it could assist us somewhat. So just wanted to make everybody aware, because it's quasi-legislative related, because I think in order to make that change, there will have to be a legislative change eventually. All right, if there's no questions about that or any other legislation, the next item is, of course, the monthly financial reports. What you will see distributed, there were 3 different reports, partially because of our inability to meet last month, but the other is just a matter of routine business when we're at this time of year. We have the final for June, as the fiscal year 25 has finally been completely closed out, and we know that everything is posted and accurate. So that is a final for FY, let me mute there really quick. Okay, for FY 25. And then you also have the first 2 months reports for FY 26 being July and August. So any questions? Let me see. Okay. Any questions on the financial reports? Okay. Then I'm going to ask Sheila to give the board an update. Sheila, there's a microphone at the table up there. I know your update is going to be limited, but we do continue to work on a couple of things, and just want to make sure that the board is aware of those things that we're continuing to work on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sheila, and then when she's done, we can see if anybody has questions.
So as ADD Oakley had indicated, we did.
Is your light green? We might need to get you a different mic.
Better?
Paige, can you hear Sheila now? Okay, talk.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
As ADD Oakley had indicated, he wanted a little bit of an update here of where we were at. So we went back, we did a much deeper dive. We looked at by carrier, by zip code, by authority to see if anything jumped out at us. And we did see some variances with one of the larger carriers. So we went back and had some conversations with them. They did some research and did indicate that the Chicago area zip codes, there were some reporting issue problems with the files that they submitted. They were adamant, and we would agree with that based on the data, that the dollars submitted were correct. It was just the allocation of those dollars that was probably incorrect because of the files that they had submitted. And it was only the Chicago, in and around the Chicago area zip codes. So we received revised files from them all the way back to November distribution, which would have been August remit. We reran all of the distributions in the test environment because we had to preserve the data integrity that was in the production environment and didn't want to write over the history, mostly, of course, for audit purposes. The results from that did not line up with the explanation that they had given us. So we went back to them again. Of course, they're getting tired of hearing from us by now, but we went back to them again, and they are in the process of providing us a reconciliation between the revised file and the original file that they'd submitted. On our side, we've gone to IT because since we had to use the test environment to run those, we wanted to make sure that there weren't any coding changes or anything that had changed on the IT side from the state's perspective that may have made that calculation a little bit different than what we would have expected. So that's where we're at as far as that goes, and I apologize for all the details, but I just wanted to, hopefully you have an appreciation and understanding of why it maybe is taking a bit longer to get to a closure on this. And the 3 points that we want to be very clear on is, the first one is that we will not make any check adjustments until we're 100% certain that those are correct. And also we'll, communicate with the authorities that are affected. The second point is that there was no, from our perspective, and again, the carrier's been very adamant, the surcharge that was submitted was correct. There's no more dollars out there on the table. It's just the allocation of those dollars. And probably the third most important point would be, the original reason that we'd given still is probably the main reason for the decrease that you've seen is because of the increase in network costs, as well as the fact that we've, consumed that federal grant credit 100% now. So that timing aligned, and that is still probably the major reason that you saw the decrease in surcharge distribution that you did.
John Ferraro, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much. Will the adjustments just be done moving forward, or will they be adjusted to checks for what happened in the past?
No, we've, ADD and Yoakley and I have talked, and yeah, it will be a retrospective adjustment if it should be adjusted.
And as Sheila indicated, we will not make any adjustments until we are 100% certain, we know what they are, and then we'll have communication with the authorities so they know. And if there's a need to spread that adjustment across multiple checks as to avoid any sort of major hit if somebody, and I don't think that we anticipate major adjustments. Now, we don't know yet because we don't have 100% of the information, but we would work with the authority as to not, because we are talking about several months. If it's appropriate to spread it over, several months, we could do that as well.
And my second question was, do we anticipate the network costs to go down at all, like to a noticeable amount? So we obviously have a big consolidation happening in Lake County. We have other things that could impact the cost. Do we have any way to forecast what that could be in the future?
I think there's a couple of things, and I'll allow Alicia and Cindy to weigh in as well, but I'll start with, I think there's a couple of things that could impact that. And one is, consolidation has continued to occur organically because it does save money. But the flip side to that is there are just overall cost increases that are happening for everyone. And so there's a balance to that. I think some other things that we think could create cost savings is like when we are successful with OSP migration. So I think there are things on the horizon. Do I expect some sort of major shift in decreasing those costs? There's nothing that I can see in the near future that would create that, because again, OSP migration is not going to be something that happens tomorrow, the next day, or even the day after. I think we continue to work towards realizing some of those efficiencies, whether that be through consolidation, OSP migration, and do as much as we can to get those costs down and create, and put more revenue back into the fund. So Cindy, Alicia, I don't know.
I think
Yeah, I think you're right on point, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you in working with the Bureau, if something looks awry, we put our heads together, we go back to the, provider, and we do everything we can to make sure that we're not being overbilled. So that's gonna continue to be our process, or their process, all along.
All right, if there's nothing further on that update, I will now pass it over to Alicia for the administrator's update.
Excellent, thank you. So we have 124 PSAPs on the EZNet, one cut over last month, which leaves us with one left of the primary PSAPs to cut over to the EZNet and also the ISP comm centers. The remaining PSAP is targeted to cut over in December, and ISP is looking to cut over around January or February of next year. The push to text to 911 continues. We have 87 PSAPs that have been declared text ready by Intrado, and we have 52% of PSAPs that have registered as text ready with the FCC. So as we reach that ETSA deadline of December 31st, it's really about making sure all the PSAPs out there are registered, are ready, and are accepting text. The redundant network connection project continues with 15 completed orders. 27 are actively being worked on, and 13 are being worked on right now. And the aerial grant project was completed. That data is on the Illinois Geospatial Clearinghouse for PSAPs and emergency management to access. There are still conversations going on about how they're going to access and what form the data is going to be in. But the data has been completed and been made available. Fiscal year 27 grants are coming up. They will be posted on November 1st. If you have topics or initiatives that you would like included in the NG 911 grant, please have those in by October 1st, and then they will be posted. The supervisor training and certification process continues on. We reached out to those who had participated in the content creation. They're doing a final pass-through before it is put into the format that it will be in the LMS, and the procurement for the LMS continues as well. So we're making movement on it. And the same with CESA. For those of you following CESA, we had 3 pilots ongoing. The total response pilot did complete. They're now in the maintenance evaluation phase where they are still checking in, still transferring calls to 988, and just waiting for the rest of the state to catch up at this point. Priority dispatch pilot and the APCO pilot are ongoing, and we are in the process of starting a police-only pilot for those PSAPs that do not have a relationship with a protocol vendor, and they are a police-only dispatch center. That being said, the statewide implementation is in the planning processes. Right now, there's a plan to have the first group of PSAPs start implementation in October and November, with the second group shortly thereafter in December and January. So those conversations are happening and getting all the pieces in line. Any questions?
Sam McLaren, yes. It just popped into my mind as you were reading the list. Is there, and this is really to the group, I mean, and there may be something going on that I'm unaware of, but text to 911, is there any public notification in areas that this is now available or becoming available? Is there some plan as to how that's going to be rolled out statewide?
Yes.
So part of the deliverable to each of the individual PSAPs or 911 authorities is a part of, hey, now your text ready, is we provided them with a public education packet. And so locally, they are making those notifications.
Just within that area?
Within their
Because I haven't,
area.
has it happened here in the Springfield area? Is that just, I'm not aware of it, or?
I'd have to look.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
See.
I don't recall it happening, but maybe I'm not on the right, sources.
Yeah, we can get back to you on that, Sam, let you know what segment counts.
And that's fine. It just popped into my head.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sam, this is Phil. I did do this, and just from what we're seeing it's a change in public education. For years and years and years of only saying just dial 911. It's a total change for an authority to change it because they don't remember. It's a change from remembering the number that I dialed for my adult life, which is a long time now, to now you can text it. It is a change in thought process, and it's hard, and it does take time, and we have to let up. We can't let up. And
I'm
we
trying to think
implemented
as a-
ours,
As a
then
possible 911 dialer, I'm trying to think, would I be comfortable taking my phone, plugging it in on text and believing that I'm through, that I've made the correct transmission?
It is a definite, not a one and done implementation. It takes maintenance, and we notice that as we've been live for 7 years, at least, and it takes time, and it doesn't end. So you're exactly right to ask those questions, and it's a thought process that we have to change.
Historically, when we started to do text in the state some 15 or so years ago, PSAPs were concerned that they were going to be overloaded. That never happened because I think even though everybody's got their phone tied to their hand, I'd rather get that voice when I need assistance than take the time to text. But there are situations, a home invasion or some type of situation where you're in a safety at-risk situation where texting does make sense. Yeah. And for the hearing impaired communities, across the state, it's also another vehicle for them to get assistance where they can describe what the situation is, maybe faster than using their TTY or whatever the case might be.
Thank you.
So Sam, I asked the opposite of that question, which was, what if I text to 911 and they don't have 911? Because I thought, I'm hoping I just text 911 because maybe I live somewhere who had 911 and now I'm in an area that doesn't. And there is a bounce back notification if you're in an area and they don't take 911. So just the flip side to your question, FYI.
I appreciate it.
And we test that. We shut ours off.
Oh, really?
And make sure it bounces back.
That's good to
for
know.
a few minutes.
Yeah.
Not hours. Like,
right.
We're taking a break.
Shut it down.
Shut it down for a while. Yeah.
It's on vacation this week.
Any other questions for Alicia?
I had one, I'm sorry. You said that the LMS is in procurement. Like, has there been an RFP put out, or what stage of procurement is the LMS?
Want me to take it?
Yes.
Okay. So we're taking a dual path right now. There is a master contract for Learn 365, which is an LMS product, which is a Microsoft product, which I will admit there could be some benefits to because Microsoft's proven track record. The problem is in true state of Illinois procurement fashion, the joint purchasing contract, although it is a joint purchasing contract, was not set up correctly. And therefore, the failure to set that contract up has made it, we have been unable to process an order against that in the state's procurement system called bid buy. The problem is even though it's bureaucracy, even though it's a unnecessary roadblock, it has kept us from making that procurement. I've been about as patient as I'm going to be. We have been trying and asking and whatnot. The flip side is we've developed specifications. We have an RFP ready to go. And if they can't make that happen very quickly, yes, we're just going to launch an RFP. And so therefore, we may end up with Learn 65, or we may end up with any other product that meets our specifications. So dual path right now, not what I would prefer. Wish that we could have just placed the order against master as we intended to do. But we of course are poised with a plan B, and we weren't just sitting around waiting for plan A to work. We're ready to pull the trigger if we need to move to RFP very quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah. If there are no other questions for Alicia, we will move on to our review of the rules. And we'll start with 1324. So in our review of the rules, obviously we have quite a bit to discuss in 1325. I don't think as much in 1324 and 26. 24 in particular, the edits were pretty limited. And of course, these were distributed prior to what would have been our August meeting. So hopefully you've had ample opportunity. There were a few updates to definitions. Unless anybody feels as though I need to go through those individual edits to those definitions. On 1324, I was just going to see if I was just going to open the floor for questions, because the definitions were the only edits made to 1324 since we last discussed.
Mr. Chair, this is Deb Piscola. I apologize if I, quick question. I noticed that in the definition, specifically for network costs, it's different than the definition that is in the ETSA. Is there a reason for that?
Deb, it shouldn't be. We thought we had aligned it with ETSA. As a matter of fact, that was the reason for the edit, is we thought we had aligned it exactly with ETSA. So we will take that back as a double check. But no, the intent is for it to match ETSA exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And when we say the definition of ETSA, it's the most recent version in ETSA.
Correct. And I will double check on my end as well.
Okay.
Michael, this is Ralph. How many definitions were changed? Was it just a few that you edited or you revised? If so, could you just point it out if there's not a lot? You don't have to go into any great detail.
So,
I would say it was just a few. And if the definition wasn't used in the rule, it's in the act. Just not.
yeah, I don't know how many deletions. It looks like there's 7 edits. So yeah.
Mr. Chair, it's John Ferraro.
Sir.
So I just have, it's probably my fault because I've lost a little bit of track of the timeline here. So I know that Illinois NENA and APCO provided some comments after we were presented this in August. Have those comments resulted in any changes? Or, so I guess my question is this. So we got this on Thursday, and as a group, we weren't able to review it for 13, 24, 25, and 26. Now, I understand fully that the can has been kicked down the road several times on the rules. Would it be possible if we could look at this last batch of edits one final time? I mean, we were down to 1 page of comments last time, not even, right? So would it be possible to give us a few weeks to look at these comments on all 3 rules and just kind of put a bow on them, so to speak, and get an opportunity to talk to our membership about them?
I'm going to answer your question with a question.
Okay.
And I'm going to admit up front that I'm doing it. 24, we were not actually soliciting any additional feedback when it went out in July. We were really looking for feedback in 1325. We were kind of ready for this, so that the feedback in advance of the July meeting was so we could get to a more advanced version of 1325. This version of 1324 has actually been, other than those last few edits, has been the same for several months. I would have to go back and look exactly how long. So am I going to give you another opportunity to do that? Yes. I would ask that we not open any cans of worms here at this point, because 24, to me, I feel like is done.
I just looked at our document. We were done on 24 too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
25,
25, yes. So when we get, we're going to move on to 20. I'm going to do 26 second. I know it's out of order, but it's going to be a shorter review. And so I'm one of those people that I'm going to do them in the order of difficult, not in the order of sequence.
Sure.
So 25, we have quite a few things to discuss, and I expect that we will need to regroup after today's conversation. My hope is 24 and 26. 24, we're done. 26, I hope we're done. Maybe we're not. We'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else on 24? If not, like I said, I'm going to go to 26 next. And I will start with the definitions portion. Again, there were what I consider to be pretty minor edits to make sure it aligns with the newest version of ETSA. So I don't think there were a ton of even edits to definitions in 1326. So I'll stop there and ask if there are any questions or comments with the definitions only on 26.
It's John. So I was just trying to look between two documents here on my small laptop screen. So did you guys address the multi-line definition? It looks like that had been changed, and with the edits and redline version, it was like not making complete sense. Let me just quickly flip back.
Give me just one second.
Sure, me too.
Because I realized the version that I printed doesn't look the same as the version I was looking at on my
So
computer.
APCO Nina did have a comment on multi-line, that the definition is changed with the edits and red light version. It doesn't make sense. Why was this change made? Can we use the Nina definition? And this definition, once you accept the changes, is the definition that is in the Act. So we went back and double checked to make sure that how we defined it in the Act is what is in the rules.
Thanks, Cindy. And I guess
This is Randy, and it may be, but as I read it, when it says MLTS means a system composed that is comprised of common control, it seems like that's off. I'll look it up in a statute.
Yeah, and I'll double check it on the statute too, to make sure that we have the correct definition.
Okay, thank you.
so we'll take that back to check the definition on multi-line. Okay, if there's nothing else on definitions, I think we can just walk through the first edit is in 1326-120. It's under A4. And it was a minor edit. It changed it to say to provide a platform to. Moving on. A little bit further down in 120, under C3, added determine which costs are directly related to the operation of the 911 network and assisting the statewide 911 Bureau with vendor research and disputes.
This is Randy with the IBTA. We've got a pretty strong concern about including that in the rule. We don't see where the statute gives the authority to the ISP or the board of the administrator over like regulatory authority over telecom carriers with regard to price, terms, conditions of services.
So I guess my question with that would be, doesn't the state of Illinois have a responsibility to make sure those costs remain reasonable?
I believe that there's a responsibility to do that. However, I believe that the telecommunications industry is regulated by the Illinois Commerce Commission, and any disputes regarding price have to be resolved there.
So billing disputes, you're saying, would be resolved with the Commerce Commission?
I think if there's a dispute over, I'm not saying billing itself, but if you're going to determine that the price included for a service is not appropriate, our pricing is established through the regulatory authority over our carriers.
But I don't think that this rule stipulates that we can determine the price. I think what it says is we can determine if the costs are directly related to the operation of the 911 network. And we do have vendor disputes, and we have to have the ability to research and dispute those costs if they are not related to the operation of the 911 network.
And I think our only request would be if there are vendor disputes regarding the prices, terms, conditions of services provided by telecommunication carriers, that there's a provision or process to resolve those at the Illinois Commerce Commission. I think we're very careful throughout all this transition of 911 to ensure that for our industry, that we continue to, when it comes to those types of issues, be regulated by one body, by the Commerce Commission, and not by additional bodies as well.
I've made note of that, Randy, and we may have some follow-up discussion with you. The next edit is under 1326-200A. It's a minor edit to add and in the middle of that paragraph to add and 1324-300. The next one on the following page under 1326-210. It's under C. The addition to the first sentence to say EZNet connectivity, text control centers, next generation core services or network or security operation centers as defined by the NENA I3 standard shall not be eligible for payment, costs that exceed the baseline. And then it goes on as was. At the bottom of that page under E, we added at the very end of the sentence, no existing service or routine services shall be disconnected until a final determination is made by the administrator. On the following, under 1326-300B, just to add, because we are inserting and have inserted that in the middle of the paragraph, just to add PPU next to zip code, because again, that is how the carriers have indicated to us it is done, is by the primary place of use zip code, for clarification. Top of the next page, 1326-310A. Second sentence inserted, resellers and factory-based carriers are the parties responsible for resolving any billing and payment disputes. Same section, top of the next page under D. Surcharge monies collected under ETSA section 20 shall be made electronically per the Illinois State Treasurer's Office. All surcharge payments remit which are less than $100,000 must be made electronically. And then right under that, under E, we changed it to electronic payments shall be submitted via the Illinois Treasurer. On the following page, 1326-400, A2. Funds allocated under ETSA sections 30B of this part shall be distributed based on the number of monthly wireless subscribers in the geographic area as defined by primary place of use zip code, where the commissions or the administrator authorizes 911 authority to operate as a PSAP. The distribution will also be in accordance with NG 911 GIS address point data. Very minor edit under 1326-430, A3, and we just needed to insert the word determines. The next edit is under 1326-440. Under A, the addition of the word each at the beginning, and then we struck the last two sentences. Addition of B, discrepancies may be resolved by considering jurisdictional boundaries and agreements between 911 authorities and the statewide 911 administrator, and will supersede previous executed zip code agreements. The next is under 1326-500, and it is way down under D4. This was updated to say routine expenses associated with road or street signs, maintenance, and replacement. The next one under F on the following page. The ETSB reviews and authorizes all surcharge distribution expenditures. It is required to confirm that any reallocations or contacts involving payment from surcharge distributions are involved or itemized with enough detail to distinguish 911 expenses from other expenses. The next, under 1326-520, there was a comment from Akonina, and I believe we've resolved, because there was some duplicative language in there that has been struck. The next, in that same section, on the next page under C, pursuant to ETSA section 16 and by January 31st of every year, each 911 authority shall file participating agency call handling, data outside jurisdictional boundary agreements, and adjacent 911 authorities call handling and aid outside jurisdictional boundaries agreements for all participating agencies and adjacent 911 authorities that have changed since the last filing of the AFR. And we drop down to 1326-600. Under C, surcharge disbursements, 911 authorities shall maintain detailed books and records related to surcharge disbursements received and use those funds in accordance with applicable laws and general accepted accounting principles for 10 years. Additionally, under E, records retention, we've started with effective January 1st, 2016, all books and records shall be retained for a minimum of 10 years.
This is Melinda. I have some concern with the effective, well, a couple of things with the 10-year versus 7 to begin with. I mean, 7 years is pretty standard, not just at the state, but nationally to keep records. Also, effective January 1st, 2016, there are records that have been destroyed because they were only required to keep them for 7 years. So, I mean, if this is in, Jackson County, I know, is out of compliance because we have destroyed records from 2017.
So Sheila, help me remember, we went back and we checked our record retention that's been filed, correct?
Our cert says 10 years.
So we have something out of whack here because I think it's always said 10 years. Not our certifications, not the rules. And so we have to figure out how to align that, but we would have to change we have to file with Secretary of State? Secretary of State.
Is that right? Yeah.
We have to file with Secretary of State our certifications for records retention. And I believe it has been 10 years since it came to the Illinois State Police. So they weren't in sync.
Was it in EDSA that it was 10 years or what? I don't think it was called out in the legislation.
No, I don't. Melinda, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how they determined when they filed those certifications that it was going to be 10 years. So I think we need to align with 10 years because it's always been 10 years. But if the way to make an adjustment of that,
Change its effective date.
well, do we have to have an effective date inside of JCAR? My question is could we just start with all books and records? Because then you could point to the fact that JCAR was updated at whatever date, and you've been in compliance since JCAR was updated, but then we're not putting an effective date that would be in conflict with our certification. So I think we strike the effective date. Because I understand what you're saying exactly. Like, we all of a sudden went, oh, wait, you should have been holding them for 10 years. Well, great, I've already destroyed some of those. Yeah, I understand. All right, so we will make that edit. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns on 1326? Before we move
Michael,
on.
this is Ralph.
Yes, sir.
On page 12, under C, C2, and then small I, establishing or supporting an unmanned backup. I still haven't had my unmanned backup issue resolved, so we don't have to waste any time in today's meeting on that. But we probably need to have some conversations on that, supporting unmanned backups, because it's critical to our 911 response in our county, and it could have detrimental effects if it either closes or we have the inability to support that financially.
Okay, have you sent us proposed language that you would like that rewarded to?
No, we never, I mean, it doesn't have to be rewarded if we're considered an unmanned backup, but that you guys, the state has not ever come out with that. So maybe this is something I need to talk to Alicia about moving forward. I know Cindy in the past has not approved that, so, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn.
There's no requirement in the EDSA that requires an unmanned backup. That's the current situation, legislative situation.
Yeah, it's just when you drew the line in the sand, which ones you accepted and which ones you didn't, as far as supporting with network costs is what I'm talking about. So I just don't know that Champaign County was treated fairly. I've mentioned it probably 10 times, if not more. And again, I don't want to tie up today's meeting with that, but I think we need to have further discussion on that.
Understood. Noted. Okay. With regard to 1324, my hope is at our October meeting that we take a vote of consensus on 1324. So I'm hoping everyone is in agreement on that. It sounds like we have two open issues on 1326. Need to have a conversation about concern. Ralph will huddle up and have a conversation about yours. And perhaps we can even be to a vote of consensus on 1326 in October as well. Because moving on to 1325, I would like for us to do our review on 25 today, have a similar conversation today like we're having on 24 and 26 in October on 25, and vote on consensus in November for 1325. Again, I want to keep these moving forward so we can get on the JCAR calendar sooner rather than later. Because again, even when we get to going to JCAR, there's still a rather lengthy process that we still have in front of us as far as getting these total rewrites through the JCAR process. I think there might even be some intricacies related to the JCAR process with these specifically because they are total rewrites. These are not edits. These are not like putting standard edits through the JCAR process. So that I just wanted the board to be aware that that is my goal. That's my objective. Because again, once we get these done, we're never done. I think through the strategic planning process, we'll learn that we need to be revisiting our JCAR rules on a regular basis and probably providing edits to JCAR more routinely than has happened in the past. So just kind of wanted to give everybody a heads up in terms of what my plan was.
And Michael, this is Ralph again. I know at one time we talked about doing them all at the same time, just so nothing was left out. I think we all agreed on that. It sounds like we may be changing that idea now. You want to free up two of them as soon as possible and then further discuss 1325, or are we going to do all three at the same time like I believe we originally agreed to?
I don't feel as though, I'm going to submit them to JCAR. I just am wanting to get to consensus so we can put some chapters to bed. Doesn't mean we publish the book. I just want to get some chapters published. That's
sure.
Really
I'm trying to clarify that to see if we've changed from our original stance.
No, I still have full intention to submit them to JCAR all at once.
Perfect.
And again, if there, as we go through 1325, you feel as though it ties back to something in 24 or 26, please make note of that. And we can take a look at that. No, it literally is just a matter of, okay, we're down to one before and they're going to have to go to JCAR as a package. JCAR will not, because they are total rewrites, they're not going to entertain these without seeing them at once.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to 1325. So significant changes in 1325. I feel like the Illinois State Police has tried to take the feedback from the board and make significant updates. Hopefully we've made a lot of good progress. But I think this one, because of the number of edits, we just need to walk through it pretty much page by page, if you will. So the first pages obviously are, the table of contents, if you will. And so I just want to make sure there weren't any questions because again, because of how many sections have changes and whatnot, there's a ton of edits there. And we may even have to make some adjustments as we move forward, but I wasn't going to discuss those in detail. I was going to start with the definitions. Under the definitions, I guess several of them, and I'm probably not going to stop at them as we go through them, but there have been several deletions. As Cindy mentioned, if they weren't used in the rule, we took them out of the definition. So If anybody caught one that we deleted that we shouldn't have, please speak up, but I'm not going to go through the deletions individually. So the first edit would have been the 911 system plan definition on the top of page 5. And the next one being the alley match rate at the bottom of page 5. The next updated definition was the call handling equipment definition on page 6. On page 7, definition of central office, computer-aided dispatch, and
Mr.
continuity.
Chair?
Yes.
This is Deb Piscola. I apologize for interrupting. Quick question. The definition of central office, why the change? It seemed like the original definition was very clear as to its meaning. This new amended definition seems a little less clear, and I just wanted some context for the change.
So the proposed definition or the change definition just gives more clarity to the 911 relationship to the central office.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Can you, I don't want to hold us up, but can you give a little more details?
Yeah, it just really ties where the first definition is just kind of a vanilla definition for central office. The second definition, or the proposed definition, brings in the relationship to 911 systems and PSAPs to the central office. And so it's got more clarity, since this is a 911 rules, it just has more clarity about what that working relationship is between the two locations, the central office and the public safety answering point.
If this is a definition for central office, does that clarity belong elsewhere?
Deb, if you'd like to propose a definition, I'm happy to take it on.
Okay. Well, I think we would propose leaving it as is, but I hear what you're saying, and I will take that back.
Okay.
This is Randy. Just to follow up on that, was there a specific issue trying to be resolved by the change in definition or not? It just
really just an effort to make sure that the definitions we had were current, and so some were updated just to make them more current with technology.
Anything else on the definition updates on page 7? On page 8, there were, of course, deletions, but the two definition updates were default routing and an update to direct dispatch. It's actually one that bleeds over at the bottom of 8 on emergency call, but the edit's actually on page 9. On page 9, edits to emergency notification and the end user.
This is Melinda. Under emergency notification systems, at one point, the sentence that said may include changeable message signs, sirens, telephones, and other media was removed, and now it's put back in. I questioned, you putting sirens in there kind of makes it sound like 911 pays for these things, and that is a concern.
Oh, let me look at that again.
Yeah, I need to go back and look at my notes because we struck it and then we put it back with the word may, and I'm not recalling exactly why we made that edit back, and maybe we put it back and should have made some edits to what was, so maybe it should include some of that, but not all of that. On page 10, we have edits to ETSB, exigent circumstance, geospatial call routing, grade of service. Looking at my notes because I believe page 10. So we did have a comment from APCO Nina when we had it at 2, looking to see if 4 is a more acceptable amount of time.
This is Melinda. It still seems short to me when I was reading it over. It just seems like a lot of these circumstances can last more. I would hope that they don't, but I can see where they would last longer than 4 hours.
How much longer?
That's a good question.
And let me just give you my perspective. If there's not a time limit in there, that's too big of a can of worms.
12. Say this happens at midnight, or something happens Sunday, depending on when things happen. If something happens on a Monday morning, yeah, things can be resolved. But if it's on a holiday weekend, like some things happen, it can be longer. So, and I don't know, there are no examples, so I'm not sure what an example of this would be. But I do know that there are some things that when they go belly up, they do last more than 4 hours.
This is John. So definitely appreciate the movement to 4 hours, but I understand what Melinda's saying. I get the reason to put a time in there. Would it be okay to say something along the lines of 4 hours unless communication with statewide administrator or something along those lines occurs and it's deemed appropriate for more time or something, I get why you want to put a time on it, and I'm okay with it. And then we could, expand it a little bit by saying as long as there's communication, because it's something big,
Yeah.
or it's occurring over a
Notification
weekend.
to-
Yeah, notification to the state. Yeah. Maybe that would work.
Let me take that back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There's nothing else on 10:11. Interconnected VoIP service was updated. Local number portability. And
Mr.
login
Chairman, I apologize. Deb Piscola again. I'm just going to flag that the definition of interconnected VoIP provider is different from the one in the Public Utilities Act. And I don't know, and I apologize, I haven't had a time to check if this is the definition that's in the ETSA. I also noted because I'm toggling back and forth between the markup version and the non-markup version. So for instance, in the non-markup version, I don't see a definition for dispatchable location, but I'm sorry, in the marked up version, I don't. However, in the non-marked up version, I do. So should we be toggling back and forth between the two documents?
No, Deb, I apologize. No, I took the markup version and accepted the changes to create my clean copy. So my apologies. I don't know how that could have.
Also, and I'll send this via email. We're just going to flag that we're seeing some discrepancies in the definitions. I will double check that to make sure that there's alignment, but I'll send a detailed email. I don't want to hold us up here today, but we would object to any discrepancies in definitions.
And Deb, when you say discrepancies, is that between the various rules or between the rules and ETSA?
I believe between the rules, ETSA, and potentially the Public Utilities Act. But, and I apologize, this is my first day back. I had a major surgery at the end of last month. I would have sent this all in an email, but this is literally my first day back. So I will send you the details so you can see that.
Thank you.
And this is Randy, just to follow up on Deb's comment. I didn't look at the clean version, but that definition does not match that's a definition of rule.
Okay. On page 12, updates to Master Street Address Guide and Nina I3.
This is Randy. I received a comment from our members that had concerns about the last sentence in the definition of Nina I3 standard. The comment from our member was that the FCC hasn't adopted a national standard, and they would prefer that last sentence be removed.
The FCC isn't really a standards body.
For our company, the FCC has a lot of standards and rules and obligations we have to follow. So, I mean, what if these standards differ from any direction from the FCC? Where does that leave our companies? If you're declaring that this is the national standard.
So where is the FCC on developing their I3 standard? Are they even working on that, Randy? I don't think they are.
What I'm trying to say is we would prefer not to be put into a conflict between the FCC and these rules.
So what standard will you follow? Will your companies follow?
I think we're following that standard, but I think when you go as far as to declare this as the national standard, then I think that's where the rub comes in a little bit for us. I can take it back to our members and say, I can take it back for sure. I'm just bringing to you what was brought to me.
Is the concern the word national? Could we leave it with the standards are the prevailing adopted standard?
I will certainly take it back, but.
Okay. Next, I am on page 14. Click mostly deletions and one minor edit under participating agencies from fire to firefighting. On 15, a couple of minor edits under public safety agency and public safety answer. That was just capitalization that was changed on public safety answering point. Sixteen, update to routing definition.
Yes, with regard to, well, comment I'd gotten was a concern about the changing the definition of selective router, but maybe that's not the case in this newer version. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, we struck selective router and updated selective
I see
router.
that now. I don't have anything then. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I have system security plan highlighted, but I see no difference. Is it the same? I don't remember. At the top of 18, system security plan. Was that updated? I didn't either. Let me look on here.
There's a comment that says delete, not used in.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, that one should be
It doesn't look
deleted?
like it, yeah.
Sorry. System security plan should be deleted. Okay. On page 19, an update to the definition of virtual answering point. Okay.
And Mike, was there one on 18? Say, or 17?
So 18 is deletions, and at the top, security system plan,
Yeah.
that should have been deleted as well,
The whole thing?
because it's not used in the rule. Yep. And for some reason, I highlighted it instead of deleting it.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on the definitions? Otherwise, we'll move into, I think we'll go through page by page with comments and address in order. All right, from page 21, several edits on this page. First comment received from Akonina, and quite honestly, we 100% agree. We're not sure how this reverted to a previous version, but the 90-day time limit was with regard to developing a plan. So any questions with 1325 120B? And I think that's actually the first two comments. One from Akonina and one from Large County. The next comment from large counties was, we have updated the section appropriately. The same with the next comment on 21, we struck one of the two complies. On the following page, there were edits, most of them deletions, a few minor edits. There's nothing on 22, 23. Comment, add the site visit should be scheduled through the system manager, which we have added. On the same page, under 1325, 200. So we provided a response to the comment that the section refers to the 911 system directory requirement. Does that provide clarification to the Apgonino comment? Yes. We good? Thanks. On page 24 towards the bottom, comment, add the word scheduled before compliance site review, which we have done. On the following page, 1325 to 20, I believe we have gotten this updated and edited to align with the first comment. Hearing no concerns there. The following comment in terms of clarification of what this means, we deleted it and are covering it in a different section of the rule now. At the bottom of page 25, in terms of response time reports, there was a question as it relates to, isn't that CAT or is the data wanted from the CPE? The data taken from the call receipt and arrival is tracked by the PSAP's CAD system. And I think that this is the one I believe we talked about. The data may not be in one system. It may be in two different systems. And we're not saying they have to be in a singular system or report. It's just all of the data has to be available and reportable. So hopefully that clarifies that.
Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I think part of the question is that, I'm sorry for the echo.
You've got quite a bit of echo. Your audio is very.
Can we try it again? Somebody else. Everybody else is done. Well, I think the question is, I apologize for the echo. If this is a 911 system, CAD is a cost, but is it really something we should be trying to see? I mean, we're expanding the authority.
Hey, Linda. Hey, Linda. You're still, we can't understand you. Is there any chance that laptop up front is unmuted and that's causing the echo?
now.
I'm sorry, if you speak up, I think it's better. They're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
I think this isn't a technology. All right, so the point I think was really more a matter of this is 911 surcharge for call handling. While the Attorney General ruled that CAD is an allowable expense, are we expanding our authority by asking for CAD data?
I do too. I think that's a very good question. I think we're gonna have to take that one back, Linda. But I appreciate the question very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to page 26. There's a comment related to EMD, and we've made edits appropriately, hopefully. So the next comment, as it relates to a potential issue, our response is there. It refers to QA reviews for 911 telecommunicators to ensure call taking radio dispatch actions are delivered at the highest possible standard. So with that in mind, I guess my question would be, would there be additional edits that would be proposed? Or did we resolve it by our change in B?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, this is John. What page are you on? I got lost.
Oh, that's fine. It's easy to get lost in this document.
Yeah, thanks.
Find myself lost all the time in it. 26 at the top, John.
Okay, I was almost sure, but thank you. At the top.
Looking at B and C.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hearing nothing additional, I'll move on to the next comment. Response trends. We removed the reference to trends. The following comment under 5B, we've made an edit. And I didn't know if the switch to quarterly from monthly would be, we feel as though the data needs to be collected on a somewhat regular basis. Obviously, it has to be collected annually, but wanted to get the opinion of quarterly versus monthly reports.
This is Randy with the IBTA, and I just had one minor request that came through me, which was that with regard to at the top of page, actually in the middle, in 1325, 310, where at the very end where it references due date, can we just add the February 1 due date? Can you add the date in there and ahead of it?
I'm sorry, you're at 1325, 310 what?
310, it's the first paragraph there. And then the second to last line following and then just insert February 1st or February 1 due date, ahead of due date.
All right. Weren't quite there, but I made a note, Randy. No big deal. Let me go back to make sure. So hearing nothing.
Hold on your hearing nothing on 5B. Like I want to hold my right to answer that question, because if annually it takes a lot of effort. Like for some people, this is click, click, zoom, send. For some people, it's click, sort, click, sort, click, sort, hope I get it, go to another site, click, sort. This is not standardized reporting for everybody. So I have to think about this a little bit more. If it takes, I'm just making up a number. If it takes 4 hours to get an annual report, and now we're adding 4 hours to somebody's tax time through the rest of the year, how valuable is that data? Why do we really need it? Is it worth taxing more people's time to get data that we're just because we need data? If we need it and we're going to take action with that data, we need to be sharing it. But how we all gather data, probably just sitting here at the table, right, between the four of us, is very greatly different.
Sure.
And the time that it takes. So I'm not concerned about having the data. I think it's there. I think it's there inherently. We're there for all of us probably now. It's a matter of how my CAD and my CPE provides data versus how John and Ralph's is may be a little bit different. So adding more work to a smaller piece app that's already probably tardy on their grant reports already. Now we're just going to be tardy on something else. I don't want to make that. And especially if we're not going to do something with the reports. If we're just going to, does that make sense? I mean,
It does.
If I don't pay my payment on my vehicle every month, there's something that's going to happen.
Right. So yes, and we can continue to have this discussion because again, you want to take it back. I would ask that you take it back in the context of if it is done quarterly, doesn't that significantly diminish the amount of time that is spent at the point that you have to do it annually? No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's another report that we have to do. And what I find, I do these monthly. I don't do all of these, but my reports I do monthly, and then when I do the year, I'm able to compile, but it still takes time. But month to month and quarter to quarter, there's not that much change that you can see normally, unless something happens, a COVID or something like that. And if there is, we go back and say, what's going on here? Is there a problem with analytics, with our software, or is it, what is it? So I guess I'm kind of with Phil, if it's going to be used for something and it's worth the time, yeah, but yeah, it does take time, whether it's quarterly or annually.
I need to back up one because I was struggling to keep up earlier. I apologize. That's a me thing. On the quality assurance and quality improvement, as you spoke earlier, you never want to answer a question with a question. My question is, how many people are really doing it right now anyway? And I hate to ask that question because it's tough. It's really as we sit here today, I'm guessing very few of us are fully staffed. So some of those people that should be doing some of those tasks are on the line. Quality assurance is critical for success and critical for a lot of things, and I am 100% behind it. However, putting it in a rule and requiring it could, and which ties to compliance, which could tie to a lot of things. I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth there a little bit, because I say I believe in it and I think it's really important, but also survival is I'll just out myself. My agency's been working for 18 months to have a solid radio QA program that we feel we're successful with, and we ain't there yet.
To Phil's point, I think that technology, though, is rapidly evolving in terms of quality assurance and what can be done with AI. And to your point earlier, which I think we're all in favor of, is the idea that these rules can be reviewed more frequently. It's almost as if this would be better in the next set of rules, because then everything is going to change a couple of years down the line. It's already changing, but there's some nuance to it, right? Like right now, AI doesn't really pick up on the nuance of protocol, and so we can't use it to review our protocols just yet, but they're getting there, right? So if we were to review this in just a couple of years down the road, I think there's going to be changes to this section already, because we're going to, you have some recording companies and stuff that are out there that are saying we can review 100% of your calls tomorrow. And I think that they're right. They just can't do it to the level, you know, and then when you push back and you say, well, it missed all this stuff. Yeah, but it's a robot and it'll get smarter. None of us want to be on that, like, you know, bleeding edge of technology. So but I think it is going to rapidly change at some point. And I think the whole picture of quality assurance is going to be different. So
it's critical for success. I want to make it really clear that I am 100% behind it, but and I think but I'm just not sure that.
Well, Phil, you already said you're doing it. If you're
Oh no, we're not. We're not doing it successfully. I mean, we're trying. We've got a good faith effort. Do I meet this standard right here? I don't think so. Not yet.
Well, the standard is there as kind of the ultimate goal, but the wording says, especially regarding high priority or complex incidents, I think most agencies, as long as you're doing QA on those big bad issues, that's a QA program. Like it's not always, because there's differing opinions about whether it's 2% of all calls, 2 calls per employee per month, what that is. Are you doing QA? Are you reviewing calls, even if it's just all of the cardiac arrests, the structure fires, some sort of thing in there? And if you're looking at radio QA, you're already ahead of the game there, because that's an addition on top of the call.
I feel like
about 10 years ago, NINA put out a quality assurance standard, which kind of says what you're saying, Alicia, about 2%. It also includes radio, but there wasn't really a lot of teeth to that standard. It was more of a guideline, but there could be some language in there that might be helpful with this too. But again, I think it's going to be helpful for the next 12 months, and then after that, everything's going to change drastically. I mean, we already see lots of companies trying to do 100% of all the calls at a 911 center. So again, I don't want to beat a dead horse. The resistance to that isn't that we're resisting quality assurance. Reviewing 100 calls sounds awesome. The resistance is, like, if you're an accredited center doing EMD or any of the other protocols, and so far AI has not been able to adapt to the nuance of protocol and the preciseness of being able to do protocol, but it will. And as soon as it does, then we're going to have 100% of our calls reviewed. So
into motion.
But I understand what you're saying, because that's the scary part about AI. You don't want to be behind, but you
Right.
don't want to be too far ahead.
That's right.
And it seems to be a very delicate balance when it comes to AI. So I understand what you're saying. I think we take this back. I think that we have some internal discussions. I wonder if there's maybe even a way to leave it in, maybe make some edits and you know, because I think we all agree that QA is important. Is this the right language? I'm not positive.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Phil said, this is Ralph, with this national staffing crisis that we're all going through, it has been tough to do some of the things that we're used to doing that we need to do if we're treating our supervisors and some of our managers as TCs. And so we're still in the midst of that crisis. We still need additional funding. This all kind of piggybacks together, if you will. So I'm not necessarily against the language either. I think it's great. This is where we should be. But we are not there statewide or actually nationally, but this is for our state. So I'd like to see it, like you said, take it back, look at it, and maybe revise it a little bit. And if it's a guideline, that's great. But if it's going to cause somebody losing their surcharge, knowing we have a national crisis, knowing we're short on their surcharge already, I think that could cripple some places that would unfairly hurt 911 throughout the state.
And then, I'm sorry, it's John one more time. Just if, and some of these reports that are being required, to Phil's point and others' points about what are we gathering the data for, maybe some language could be considered that at the request of the statewide administrator, this data would become available. So that the centers that are running those reports already are running those reports. So if I was called and asked for data for a year or for a quarter or for a month, we could produce that fairly quickly, to Phil's point. But for the centers that are not, to acquire that information, for it to go sit in a file somewhere, could be very, it could be very taxing on that entity. So maybe it could just say something along the lines of, at the request of the state, this information must be produced, or something along those lines.
I understand what you're saying, and we'll take that back. But I think I would lean towards, if this is becoming something that is generating a report for the sake of a report, having something available to the administrator doesn't belong in this part of the rule, in my opinion. This is about what the standard should be for administrative reports within a center. So appreciate what you're saying, but I think either it'll stay in some form, or we'll say we're not there yet. The tools aren't there for them to be able to readily do it, and it's going to create work that, and I'm not sure which it is, but I appreciate it. But I still feel like this section is really about what should be happening with those administrative reports, which really are not for the administrator.
Understood.
Sure. Okay. Same page at the bottom, instead of 3C under 5C. Again, an annual report is submitted to the FCC, and grantees are required to submit quarterly. So hopefully that clarifies the question we received. And the last part of that section is at the top of the next page under B. So it would be 5DB. No, that's not right. Sorry, it would just be B. My apologies. We didn't intend to audit. It's just making note of the fact that they should be available for review by either the bureau, by the bureau when necessary. So moving on to 13.
Just a question,
Yeah.
relatively speaking, when we talk about retaining reports and records, 10 years of QA could be a massive amount of data. So if we may want to be careful. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get down the legal rabbit hole of that. But I mean, not for me, but for John, it's a lot. And even if it's electronic, it could be a lot. And we were talking 7 and 10 earlier. I don't know if that's a direct reference to that NB, because I'm still processing in my brains about cooked out. I'm at least on the same page now, so I'm really.
You are,
happy with
yes.
myself.
No, it is. It's real. It's all of that. It's all records and retention. So it's everything we spoke about above. So
That could be it could be a massive amount. As we evolve, I mean, that's a lot of data. So even if it's electronic.
I don't think it's necessarily saying every record has to be 7 to 10 years, but what does your records retention schedule that you had the Secretary of State's office put together for you say? And that record type, QA reports or whatever, would be retained for X, whatever they indicate in that, schedule that they've created for you. And each system schedule may be slightly different. I doubt that they're the same across the state, but yeah, and so if that's what it is, I mean, I don't think this is trying to say everything has to be 7 to 10. That is not what this is saying.
no.
And that was the point of clarification.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to 1325-3. First comment under A, we agree, yes, that is the 911 system manager. But I guess having said that, it's not always the system manager, correct? Our liaison information, Sheila, our liaison is not necessarily always the system manager, right? It can be the system manager, but it's not always. So then the next question is relative to, is it provided on the AFR? It is provided on the AFR, and that's very helpful, but we also know that there are changes mid-year, and our ability to have contact information for a liaison is important for us. Because there are times we have trouble getting a hold of an individual to be responsive to one thing or another. All right. So 1325-300. I'm not going to stop at every single edit. Obviously, I'm happy to talk about any of them that you would like to discuss, but going to try and just, again, we're probably coming up on the point that I probably ought to offer everyone a break, but would like to just run through the edits if there's not a comment and as we go through sections and see if there's anything we need to talk. So anything else on 1325-300? If not, moving on to 1325-310. Randy, I have your note already noted. Thank you for that. Ooh, looks like we got a formatting issue on 1325-320. Sorry about that. We'll get that fixed.
This is Melinda. I just have a quick question on 310, the FCC outage reporting requirements. Is this language directly from the FCC? Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on to 1325-320. Or 330. All right. Before we move on to 1325-400, does everybody need a break? I've been accused before of locking you guys in. Let's do a break. Let's say 10 minutes, a minute after the hour. We'll reconvene. resumed our recording. And we're gonna keep on keeping on. Let's see here. We were where? 1325, 400?
I'm not there yet. Yes, 400.
1325, 400. First comment on page 30 under J. Question on how do we know a 911 system is certified? There is a listing and a website provided. So if there's no questions on that, we'll move on to the next page of 1325, 410. There was the addition of the word read. I want to make sure there's no further questions on that one. Oh, I just got a reminder. I got to do a roll call when we resume. I forgot. Good thing I've got someone who keeps me in line. All right. So, Michael Yoakley present. Senator Neil Anderson. Senator Bill Cunningham. Representative Mike Coffey. Representative Angie Guerrero Cuyar. Ralph Caldwell.
Present.
Damon Dade.
Present.
Laura Daly.
Sorry, present, couldn't unmute.
That's okay. Thank you. John Ferraro.
Present.
Tim Hightower.
Present. WebEx.
Great, thanks. Phil McCarty.
Present.
Sam McLaren.
Present.
Randy Narrett.
Present, Springfield.
Laura Neal. Dina Perdue. Deb Piscola.
Present via WebEx.
Thank you. Carla Red. I think she dropped. Melinda Walker.
Present, Springfield.
And Linda Zerwin.
Present DuPage.
Thank you. All right. So again, back to 1325, 410. There's no issues with our response to the initial comment at the top. Second comment was with regard to A3. Is this an internal report? And the answer is yes. Same section on the following page, B3, does a bulletproof window, so some sort of protective barrier from the lobby. So we've got our response there, and I guess I would say is, in general, I don't think we want to get down to the detail of this does count, that doesn't count, as long as they're isolated from the direct public. How, the entities choose to do that. Again, what we're speaking to is making sure there's proper security measures. So in B4, there was a comment with regard to visitors versus vendors. We've made an edit, and then I think we intend to provide some additional information once we get to the point of FAQs. FAQs, obviously, we're not going to be able to get to FAQs until we get to the end of rules. We really need to make sure that the FAQs align with the rules, so that's not going to be something that happens until after the rules are finalized. So same section, if there's nothing on 32, moving on to the top of 33, we made an update in response to the comment we received allowing the 911 authority to fall under the county COOP plan. If there's no concerns there, we'll move on. And again, I'm just gonna, and this is where things are gonna get a little confusing because our numbering gets very weird here, but 1325, 420, and 430. Let me know if there's any questions, comments, concerns with the edits that have been made. Because I'm all the way to page 30 at the top before I get to, oh, now that comment was really just about sequencing, which we've fixed. So again, 430, I get all the way to the top of 38 before I get to a comment. So anything before the top of 38 on 430. Made an update there. In terms of whether or not behavioral health may or may not be available. Remainder of this page is 440, and then we do have a comment on 500. There's nothing on 440. The standard was updated on, or the 500 was updated to refer to the NENA and NFPA PSAP equipment standards. There's nothing on 500, 510, starting at the bottom of page 40.
This is Melinda.
Yes.
It looks like, you know, it references the 7 layers, but I don't see in this revised edition, I don't see road center lines and PSAPs on here. And I may have missed it. I don't know. But if we could review that.
Say it again, center lines and
PSAP boundaries.
thank you.
It does look like that. I'll take a look at that again.
Thanks, Melinda. Anything else on 510? Looks like there was an update on 510 at the bottom of 42. Made an update to that as well at the request of Wabash County. Same section, top of page 43, looks like D2. We made an update in response to a comment from APCO NENA. Same with the very last of that, there we had a comment Oh, no, that's the same comment as above. Sorry. I believe next is 520. If there's nothing on 520, 530. Made pretty much just boiled it down to keeping it in compliance with Title II of ADA. $540 on logging recording systems. No comments, but there were edits in case there's any comments now. Same with 550, there were some edits, but I don't have any comments. The next comment I have is under 560. We made some edits at the suggestion of APCO and Nina, so hopefully those are in line with the expectation. And same section, we also made a revision in response to the comment received from counties with population less than 37,000. $1325,570 emergency notification system. Comment with regard to whether or not the section belongs. Clarification provided that the surcharge budgets can only be used for ENS for emergency only notification, and it's just for clarification purposes.
This is Melinda again, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have a concern that an emergency notification system, I know it's meant to be the text, the notification out or whatever, but I'm going back to the tornado sirens. Could an emergency notification system be a tornado siren? Just would like to keep that in mind when we review this.
I understand what you're saying. So have you come up with language that you think, not yet?
No, I have not. And I get that, you know, I see where we're going with this, and I agree with the electronic notification systems, but I don't know how. I think we needed a way to differentiate it, and I have not come up with language. I can try. Can work on that.
We will take it back as well.
Okay, thank you. I was just trying to avoid future issues and questions. I think for as clear as possible, it would be very helpful to some of the smaller counties.
Noted. So I'm guessing a similar sentiment on B as well, Melinda?
Yes.
Understood.
I mean, I don't know if we need to, I hate to drill down to like we did with the road signs, that you cannot spend money on road signs, that you cannot spend money on tornado sirens, but and I think that might be one of the arguments for taking some of this language out completely. But I'll see if we can find some clarification language too.
Okay.
On that. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll lean on our attorney as well. She's often really good at helping us come up with maybe some language that would work as well. Okay. Sorry, I should have said A, B, and C. Yeah. Yep. Got it. Okay, then luckily we have a lot of deletions. We get all the way down to 1325,600 at the bottom of 51. So I did consult with legal as it relates to the question, and what it boiled down to is what was B is remaining, and actually I don't think it'll be B anymore. It'll just be a paragraph under 1325,600. Just want to make sure there were no concerns with leaving paragraph in. If not, again, we've got quite a bit of deletion following that.
On B, sorry, I'm not going to hold up too much here, but I would just ask to make sure that when you look at that it refers back to case law. There's a lot of FOIA that's been filed against every single one of us, and there's been stuff that's been taken all the way through to the end game for this about releasing the who's and the what's and the where's. I think there's probably, if we don't want it, there's no reason to reinvent that wheel. That's all I have.
Yeah, for sure. And I will revisit that with Liz, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, but because there was PII, I took it to legal and said, I need your legal hat. Definitely not an attorney. I just have one I like to argue with on the weekends. All right, so I think we're down to, let's see, we're still in 600. I get lost on the section. 610? Oh, yes, sorry. 610, starting on page 54. There's a comment on C. We've made an update accordingly. And then also just calling out that we made an update on D as well. If there's nothing else on 610, 620, edits there, but also wanted to call out we made an edit to reflect CESA transfers in C. Next up is 630. Again, just a request that it's placed and published on the website, so we've made an edit accordingly. 640, again, some concerns as it relates to PSAPs dealing with bargaining units and personnel issues. So we've made some wording changes and wording to reflect the ETSB versus the PSAP role. Make sure that there's no additional comments, concerns on 640. If not, the next section is 700. We made some edits in response to the comment from large counties. If there's nothing on 700, let's move on to 710. We do have a comment on D. And we made an edit in response to the comment in terms of the curriculum. All right. After that, 720 begins, I believe, at the top of page 62. Although we didn't have any comments, so unless there's any, we'll move on to 1325, 730. So the comment being as it relates to the LMS and not being in place, knowing the amount of time it's going to take to get the rules to finalization, the LMS will be in place prior to these being formalized, and will be actually probably in the midst of implementation. So I do feel as though it still should remain. The second comment as it relates to distinction for existing employees for the process. Again, in consultation with legal, there is no provision for waivers under the legislation. If there's no discussion on 730, we'll move on to 740. Again, several edits were made. However, I don't believe we had any comments on 740. The same is true for 750. Several edits made, no comments received, so just want to make sure there aren't any additional comments today. And if there aren't any, the next comment is under 760. And we agreed that the 30-day seemed a bit eager or ambitious, so we increased it to 60. If there's no other comments, we'll move on to 770. I don't believe we had any comments on 770, but edits were made. And then there's nothing on 770. 780, significant wording changes have been made. And I don't believe I need to read to all of you, but we could just open the floor for general discussion about what we've proposed for continuing education. If there isn't any comment on the updated language, we'll move on to 790. And we've made some edits and then also have an agreement that some of that belongs more in the FAQ, so we've made some moves there as well. So 790 is the end. About next steps, if there aren't any comments or questions. So 790, or I'm sorry, 1325, obviously we're going to need to have another go through once we get some additional feedback from the board. I was just going to take a look. Our next meeting is, of course, the end of the IPSTA conference. Appreciate the opportunity to have the board meeting at the end of the IPSTA conference again this year. I think that'll be a great meeting for us for a couple of reasons. Knowing that's October 22nd, today is September 15th. If we had everything due back to us October 6th, that's 3 weeks from today. Good with that?
I'm good with
Okay. Hearing no objections, that would be my request, that all feedback, and again, on all three, but obviously, I think the most of the discussion we have to have left is on 1325. If I could have everything by October 6th, that would be much appreciated. So 1325, for the 6th, it will be to prepare us to discuss 25 again at the October meeting. The only vote I intend or would like to take is just a consensus on 1324 in October. Consensus from the board that 1324 is where we need it to be. 1326, obviously have a couple of things we need to discuss. If I can get those to a point, and we would happen to agree, because I'll, with both Randy and Ralph on those issues, we potentially could take a consensus vote on 1326 in October as well. And again, the consensus vote is not to move it to JCAR. We can't move anything to JCAR until it's completely ready. But we could all, I'm just going to say for me, I will sleep better knowing that 2 of these 3 are done for now. because they're not done, but for now. So that's my intent with that. So that would be my plan. But then 1325, obviously, we're going to have some conversation, obviously, in October. All right. Anything else on rules? Perfect. Strategic planning update. I distributed the statement of work. Obviously, the version that went out in advance of what would have been our August meeting has had a couple of iterations. A couple of variety of things. One is, we wanted to kind of trim some of the exercises that are going to need to be done in terms of number of meetings. There was a region in there that didn't need to be covered, so we were just trying to streamline it to exactly what needs to be covered and addressed as we move through a strategic plan. I've invited ISI here today to basically make themselves available to the board to answer any sort of questions that you have with regard to the statement of work. I did receive some questions/comments in advance of what would have been our August board meeting. I provided responses. I haven't heard back, so I hope that they were adequate responses. One of those questions, fair question, was how was ISI selected? ISI was selected because they hold a master contract for this type of work with the Statewide, which was a competitively bid contract. So just in case there's any question as to, well, what was the competition? Well, it was a competitively bid contract by CMS for all agencies under the governor. So we just tapped into it. Having said that, I have worked with ISI in the past. They have had contracts with the Illinois State Police, specific prior to their master contract with the state of Illinois. So Kent James and I have worked together multiple times. In my previous lifetime when I was CFO, he got the pleasure of often negotiating contracts with me. I'm not sure that pleasure is the word that he would use, but luckily we're still very good. We have a very good collaboration together on many things. So they are also, ISI is also the company we're working with on our LMS in terms of content development. And that statement of work's already been executed and we're moving, as soon as we can get a platform, we'll be moving on that. So I'm gonna ask Kent to come up and see if we've got a microphone for him. Brian, do you want to see if you've got one for him? Yeah. And Kent, I'll allow you to open with any sort of remarks you would like before we allow the board to have questions and introduce your colleague as well. Hang on one sec. I got to get you a mic, just so DuPage can and the WebEx can hear you. The green.
Test, test, test. Can you hear me? All right. So thank you for letting us answer any questions you might have today. My name is Kent James, the Executive Director of Illuminative Strategies. Our company focuses primarily on process optimization and change management. That's how do we get organizations to look at their processes, optimize them, and then make sure that we have adoption of whatever changes might occur. We've been doing this for decades. I personally have been doing that for almost over 25 years internationally. 98% of our business is helping governmental organizations with this type of change, which is very unique and different than private sector, for those that are not aware of that. I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. Lean Six Sigma is the methodology that we use for process assessment. And then on the change management side, it's all about, it's more psychology and how do we get people to adopt and do things differently. Lots of training. You mentioned, Michael, that we are also involved in LMS systems statewide. We've just released very large training for those of you that, for example, participate as a mandated reporter. That we developed that training. That is one module that we created recently and released to the public. I think there's targeted 185,000 people will be taking that training session. So also very comfortable with looking at training effectiveness and delivering it. and managing it and monitoring it. We're big believers in continuous improvement. So if we're not getting the results we want, we'll change, and we do that. So that's just super high level overview of our company. I have with me Mr. Bart Welker, and one of our leads on many of these projects as well. So more than happy to answer any questions you might have on the style we presented.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm not really specific questions for you right now, but there are some observations I'd like to make compared to the last statement of work statement we saw a few months ago. I consider this much improved, quite simply. I can read the objective statement, and I think I have an understanding of what we should expect to receive in June of 26. So that's a significant relief. I did not understand the purpose statement before at all. I'm also pleased that there are actually work steps with hours identified on here. I think that will help the chairman or whoever's actively monitoring your work. Forgive me, no, it won't necessarily mean they'll be able to control your work, but they'll know when you're off track. You know, that's my comfort. So I was very pleased to see that. But I would like to encourage every board member here to read the objective statement. It's short, it's clear. I want you to make sure that you understand what we're going to see in June of 26. This is what you can expect. And if there's something else you want in here, you think should be in here, focus on that objective statement. I promise you it's short, but it is what we're going to see in June 26, and we can't expect anything else, is what I'm trying to emphasize. So please, everybody, take a minute, take a look at that objective statement, and I'm sure ISI would be happy to hear any comments that we have, if there are any. Personally, I feel much better about this document than I did the other. So.
So this is John Ferraro. Thank you very much for providing the latest version of the statement of work. And I just wanted to make a comment also. Nina and APCO had discussed adding vendors under contributors, which I see you've done, and we appreciate that. I just want to kind of stress the importance of that. In our industry, I think a lot of times we have to depend on some of our vendors to figure out which direction we're headed. Quite simply, technology so quickly. Their voice at these types of sessions, you know, at a strategic planning type thing is going to be so critical because some of them see a few steps ahead of what we're seeing. At a dispatch center that I'm leading, I'm really sometimes trying to keep the change incremental, and I'm trying to not go too fast with anything, but they don't necessarily have that requirement, right? They can look as far forward as they need to. So I'm really hoping we can get the right vendors involved and discuss with them what the future's like. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to say I appreciate all the feedback from the board, because I would agree with Sam that I think we have a much better statement of work in front of us today than the initial one, which I think is to be expected, right? This is a new endeavor for all of us. I'm looking forward to this project. I think that this is the roadmap that we need, and I think it's important that we have all of the interested parties involved, which hopefully we've captured that across the various groups that need to have input. So just so the board is aware, what the next step will be is for the Illinois State Police to execute the statement of work with ISI. We will get that done in the next couple of weeks. because my intention and what our next step will be is ISI will actually be present at IPSTA. We've invited them to come and they have agreed. I actually intend to attend IPSTA this year. And I think what's important there is to give ISI the opportunity to meet a variety of individuals so they know exactly who they're dealing with, because there are going to be surveys, there are going to be work groups, there are going to be, and I think IPSTA is a really good opportunity for the administrator and I to walk around with ISI and introduce them to the vendors, to the various parts of the 911 community. And then our kickoff will be at the board meeting in October. I wanted everybody to kind of understand what my plan was moving forward and make sure, or just ask if you have any questions about that.
I think that's a great idea, and I look forward to the process. My one thing of caution is don't bring me unobtainium. I know you're really good. You stated that, and you're great at moving change forward, and I love that. I love change. It's great, but don't bring us unobtainium. I really challenge you not to bring us unobtainium, because we need this to move us forward, but it's absolutely not worth anything if we can't achieve it. And it really needs to be achievable. And I ask that you bring us something that is achievable and listen to all the people in the room and the great group of people you'll find as you go through this process.
I think that the one thing that Kent and I have talked about, and to your point, Phil, is regular communication with the board as we go through this process, regular updates at the board meetings, maybe even in between the board meetings, deliverables, are we meeting them? Are they, you know what I mean? So I think that that's a responsibility, because I'm going to be honest, ISP could have endeavored to do a strategic plan on our own, but it does us no good. It does us absolutely no good. This needs to be an effort of the board, which is why, when it's our responsibility. When I wanted to do some financial analysis, I went out and we engaged Crow, and we have the responsibility on the administrator to do the LMS. And so we kind of realized those were ISP responsibilities. I don't see strategic planning as an ISP responsibility. I see it as a responsibility of the board. That's why the board exists. And I think that we collectively have a responsibility to this strategic plan. So that's why I wanted to make sure. That's why, we provided the draft statement of work, we got the feedback, we improved it, we're to the point, but I wanted you all to see it one last time before we ink it, and say, this is where we're headed, because we're headed there together as a board.
And then just one final comment. This is Ralph. It's nice to see that it has been tweaked. Thank you, Sam, for some of your suggestions, because it looks like they were incorporated. And it is nice to hear the board is going to be involved, deeply involved. And that's what we like. I mean, this is what we do for a living. So to have our input is very important. We represent a ton of people statewide. So it's nice to hear that and see that this is just not an ISP project. This is all of our projects. And including the vendors, like John said, there's so many people that help us keep 911 up and running. So it's good to hear. It's nice meeting you. We look forward to the process itself and the final outcome. So thanks for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's no other comments on the statement of work, we'll move on to the FY27 consolidation grant. Responsibility of the board to, of course, set that dollar amount. Currently.
Are you looking for a motion or discussion?
I'm sorry. I was, to quite honest, Linda, what I was looking for is I was turning to Alicia and said, are we still at 12.5?
And I said, that's a very good question. We're still at 12.5.
On the consolidation grant, the last approved amount was $7 million.
7. Sorry. See, that's why I was showing my ignorance. I was showing my ignorance, Linda. 7, right?
That's what they approved last time. Now
Okay.
they could do whatever they want this year, so like
Exactly.
10 could be a possibility.
Exactly. Okay, consolidation grants, we're at 7. Discussion.
So I couldn't quite hear what Cindy said.
Oh,
7 million, Linda, 7.
Okay, thank you.
But you could do 10.
So how much was applied for?
It all got spent. It all got awarded.
How much more was out there after? If we would have given you 10, would you have expended that? If we give you 30, are you going to expend that? If we give you 50, are you going to? That's where I'm you know.
No, I'm sure if it was 30, we wouldn't spend that. There's a lot of consolidation conversations going on organically, as Michael had indicated earlier today. We were able to give everybody 100% of what was allowable. In previous years, because we didn't have enough funding, we had to do all right, here's what's allowed, and now here's the percentage you're going to get, because we can't give you 100%, we don't have it. So.
but we funded 100% of the allowable that was applied for.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
This past year, yes.
This is Ralph. In lieu of our surcharge declining and our monthly checks, it scares me a little bit over committing too much because this has to come out of some. And so I'm kind of leading just thought process. I'd like to hear the rest of the board between 5 and 7, not 7 and 10. And I appreciate Cindy's efforts, and we support consolidation, definitely. But we also want to keep our lights on first and then look to the future. And so I would suggest somewhere between the $5 million and $7 million range myself.
You know, one thing I might add is, once the applications come in, and if they're for $4 million, just to say for sake of conversation, and 7 was approved, $3 million goes right back into the pot and is distributed.
Yeah.
And then if what's requested isn't allowable, then whatever that difference is goes back as well. This is my last opportunity to have this conversation with you.
So seeing what Lake did and what Lake took on was a big deal, and was very impressive. I'm not going to lie. That is a big deal. And if this grant money helps communities such as Lake or whoever else, I'm using Lake because we spoke of them earlier today, earlier today. I think that if we can give a mechanism to get more Lake counties use them as an example, or any of us, if this is the tool that is getting them forward, it's important we continue to put that tool out there. However, I saw a 10% decrease in my little bitty money that I get. And then I heard great news that it's not going to change because none of the fixes were in my zip codes. One of them does start with a C, but it's Calhoun, not Chicago. A little difference between the two. So that concerns me greatly as well. I'm seeing what happened in Lake was very impressive, and I know the work that goes involved in that. And with work comes money. And there were savings in there. Not a lot, but there's a lot spent. So how's that for not getting anywhere with that conversation?
So I think that we're getting ready to start strategic planning. I don't think that necessarily this is the year. Cindy's going to shoot me, and that's okay. This is the year to increase the amount. I also, to Phil's point of, I want to continue to encourage those who organically want to consolidate. So I would also be disappointed to see it go less than 7 million. But it is a decision of the board. So, just my opinion.
Michael, Ralph again, do we know of any consolidations that are in the pipeline or have contacted any of you that they want to get that started as far as?
There are a number of things in the pipeline where they have not yet requested any funding. There's a couple.
In the past, we had money allocated and just sitting there. I think we had some pretty a valuable conversation about that money sitting there. Did we alleviate that issue if we don't allow money just to sit there? Because I think I'm going to for lack of better terms.
Different money, but we did make a change to be able to give that money back as well.
The NG money.
Yeah, so that we have fixed. This has always been allowed to be able to give back.
Right.
So
I'm not communicating appropriately. I apply for my $7 million that I want for consolidation, and then I don't achieve it. Do I have to have I'm going to use my friends at Lake because he's in distant. He can't strike me from here. They spin it and they came and asked for it later, or what's the process for that, right? You know, I don't want somebody to hold it hostage, $3 million hostage for 6 years as I'm working on my consolidation plan. I think we talked about that at one point.
Well, they would have to get an amendment every year.
Yeah.
The administrator would have to agree to that amendment, so they can't just string it out.
Yeah.
And that honestly hasn't happened with the consolidations. Now, some of the other projects have run into some issues here and there on the NG side. And then that's a conversation that has to be held to determine, is this worth continuing to amend for another year, or to say this is never going to work and let's not proceed.
But there is a review every year. Yeah.
There is a review.
I just don't want us to say we're going to give $7 million and I'm sitting on, I didn't quite get her done this year. Can I have it again next year? And then it keeps and that means I have to keep doing reports. Everybody knows they're going to be late.
Oh. I had the 0.5 right. It's 7.5, not 7. I knew I had a 0.5 in there somewhere.
Okay, Michael, since my soapbox is we're short on surcharge and we have been for a while, I'm going to make a motion that we make it $5 million this year and wait to see if there's a second and any discussion on it.
Mr. Chair, I will second Ralph's motion, and I do have some discussion.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just didn't know if we not need to do anything. I would support what's being said here, but I have concerns over earlier in revenue. We've talked about costs increasing, and we don't know what those are. So with strategic planning, and we don't quite know the direction we're heading, and with the fact that the 911 system hasn't completely rolled out, we don't know what those costs are going to be. I think our first duty is really to support the 911 systems, and I'm a little concerned about losing some of that surcharge in terms of daily operational costs, at least for this year, until we can level off those expenses and know where we're at and what the plan is going to be. I also would like to point out that anybody who does consolidation can submit after the fact. The statute, if I remember correctly, allows for us to submit in subsequent years. So it's something we could always catch up with projects if there was a surge in consolidation. We are looking at heading toward a recession. So I think the first duty is to this 911 systems first. So that's why I'm supporting 5 million this year.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ralph Caldwell.
Yes.
Damon Dade.
Yes.
John Ferraro.
Yes.
Bill McCarty.
Yes.
Sam McLaren.
Yes.
Carla Red. Belinda Walker.
Yes.
And Linda Zerwin.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right. Open the floor for general public comment.
Is there any other new business, Michael?
Oh, could I ask that?
I wanted to brief everybody. This is Ralph. We had a mental health call September 4th, and in Champaign County, actually it was in the city of Champaign. It was a transport only initially, and we upgraded it to the fire involved. We had 2 firefighters stabbed multiple times by the alleged victim, and ambulance attendants also. So law enforcement was not sent because the Public Act that was passed was trying to keep law enforcement out of the picture. And in doing so, we have a couple people, actually 3 people that were hospitalized. So I know moving forward, this is going to be a bone of contention, if you will, or a topic of conversation. Everybody's hurting in Champaign County now because 3 of our first responders went down for a while. Thank God nobody has passed away and they have been released from the hospital. But I know what CESA is trying to accomplish. We talked to the proponents in the beginning when they were trying to pass the bill. We tried to explain to them that first responders could be injured if we don't have the right people going to the scene. So this should hopefully open up a bigger conversation. I know that the state administrator is on the other statewide board for CESA, as well as APCO and NENA. And it breaks my heart. I'm trying not to tear up here, but we could have lost 3 first responders. And again, it was just somebody who was suicidal that said, I want to go to the hospital to talk to somebody. And it ended up with 3 people on the ground bleeding. And so again, I know this isn't for this board, but we dispatch throughout the state. This group does. So I thought it should be noted. Excuse me. And now the fire department, they're hesitant to go on these types of calls. And so we were in our county gradually trying to get to the point where we could maybe have a co-responder model or some other model. Right now, there's great fear in sending the wrong people to the scene because that could have been somebody's husband or child or son or so forth that may not have come back. And now do we put weapons with our firefighters? We give them guns and tasers and everything else, which is a whole nother topic of conversation, but we're really shaken in Champaign County right now. So just be aware of that at the state level. It's still under investigation. I can't really share all the details to the call. I've let a few people listen to it. Again, very calm person calling us, no indicators there's any violence or anything other than maybe a transport. And then it erupted into, I think one individual was stabbed 9 times. Another individual was stabbed in the head. So it's something we don't take lightly, and we're changing our processes now back to where we were before. So we were gradually trying to inch to the CESA side of things, and now we're like, we have to protect our people. And so just be aware of that. Stay tuned for more information. I just can't talk a lot about it right now.
Thanks, Rob. So, apologies. Any other new business before we move on? Hearing none, I will move on to public comment.
Green light's on, right?
Green, you're good, yes.
Doug Clark, Perry County. I just wanted to point out one thing on this statement of work on the strategic plan. Under G3, the other key stakeholders, they have listed state and local emergency management. But when you move to H2 on interviews, it only states individuals for my EMA. I just would like to see that change to state and local emergency managers on the interviews and the focus on the local, because those are the ones that interact the most with the other first or public safety agencies.
I'm sorry, where was I caught the first reference. Where was the second reference?
H2 under interviews, it just says individuals from my EMA for
Okay.
interviews. Probably more a clerical issue than anything on that, but I just want,
Understood. No, I appreciate the feedback.
I just want to make sure the focus also include local emergency management.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, John Ferraro.
Second, Phil McCarty.
All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Adjourned.